Welcome to Nerds Are Us. This is ReadySetGomez alongside Knockoutoonz. Today we are going to be doing a spoiler review of Spider-Man No Way Home. Now, we actually watched the movie together. For people that don't know and haven't been following our podcast, Nerds Are Us, we're brothers. If you can't tell from the non-variation in our voices, we watched this together, and you watched it before me. How do you feel you enjoyed it watching it the second time?
I feel like when I watched it with you, I watched it and got a nostalgic feeling to it. As opposed to with my daughters, I got a sense of closure to the Spider-Man trilogy that I had watched with my kids.
Okay. So you feel like it was almost like the Blue's Clues Steve moment where he comes back and you're just like, "Oh shit, like this is for us. This is for like all that we've been building up for." And I don't know, like there was just something about it that just made it so much more special when the the actual reveal came to fruition.
Yeah. So No Way Home, obviously about Peter Parker, and his identity has been told to the world by Mysterio. And this is after Far From Home. He goes and sees Doctor Strange. Doctor Strange, supposedly. Now we're kind of wondering if that's evil Doctor Strange. But he quickly tells Peter that he will do a spell of basically forgetting everything. And Peter interrupts him mid spell, tells him, "Oh, what about MJ? What about Ned? What about Happy? What about Aunt May?" And he's adding these six things, and he's like, "Okay, whatever." And then he's finally like, "Peter, shut up." And he does the spell, but he has to contain it because it was gonna go fucking ballistic. Now, this movie, you see a very seasoned Spider-Man. You have seen Tom Holland Spider-Man pretty much showing himself that he can be a hero. He took under the command of Iron Man, and took to Tony Stark really well and very fast because of the fact that he doesn't have a dad, he doesn't have an uncle, he doesn't have this, he doesn't have that, and you see that he becomes and is in this movie a very, very well polished Spider-Man.
Yeah, I could agree with that. I did want to point out to everybody that we don't really find out what happens to his parents, really. It's never really revealed. Like, we never get a proper origin of Tom Holland's Spider-Man, which I kind of feel like is a fresh take. Like, we never see the bite of the spider, like you see in Andrew Garfield's and Tobey Maguire's. And I just felt like it's weird that we kind of were just thrusted into uh, a Spider-Man appearance in Civil War, and we just kind of had to like not deal with it, but just appreciate it and be like, oh yeah, we have Spider-Man in the MCU now, because it was kind of like a last minute thing. So they didn't really get to show the on-air origin of Peter Parker, and I thought that was pretty
Well,
interesting.
actually, I think that was really interesting that they did that, but at the same time, I was actually excited that we didn't have to go down the goddamn rabbit hole of the Uncle Ben and the spider bite and him, trying out being Spider-Man again. And, the movie pretty much started with, Spider-Man, swinging
Yeah, I
around
don't think I could
the
handle another Uncle Ben death. I remember the
another
memes.
Uncle Ben
Do you
death.
remember
I mean,
the
come
memes going
on.
around the internet where like they're oh, another Spider-Man trilogy, and it's the I think it's the Simpsons, or haven't we told, or no, it's SpongeBob, where he's like, haven't we taught you this lesson already, old man? And it's Uncle Ben like on the fucking ground, and it's just like, oh my god,
No,
so dark.
it's
It's SpongeBob.
it's SpongeBob,
Yeah,
but it's what's it called? The Aquaman guy, Mermaid Man.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, he's
Oh
on the
man.
ground.
Anyways,
Um,
so I just thought that it was interesting that they did that, and I wonder if they're leaving that open to like have some sort of reveal later on, like, oh, Spider-Man's parents aren't actually dead, or like do something crazy like that later on. Which I'm not trying to like speculate on a review because that's what this is all about. I wanted to point out that um they didn't have Uncle Ben die, but they still had his famous line in the movie towards the end. Um, Aunt May,
oh man,
yeah, Aunt May. Spoiler alert. Well, we already said spoiler review. When she's dying, she says, "With great power comes great responsibility." And then what's even cooler is the moment when the two Spider-Men are revealed, Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield, to Tom Holland. Um, he goes to say that my Aunt May told me great power, and then Tobey Maguire like answers it and says with great responsibility, and it's just like, oh god damn, this is so cool. And he's like, wait, how'd you know that? How'd you know that? And it's just like it was such a surreal moment.
yeah, and Toby kind of looks and nods at Andrew, and I just want to say Toby and Andrew and Tom on these because I don't want to get Spider-Man mixed up with Peter Parker, you know.
Yeah, we're not gonna do the Spider-Man 1, 2, or 3 thing.
Yeah, so he just kind of like nods at Andrew, and he's like, Uncle Ben told us,
That was
and
pretty funny though, in the movie itself, where they like even they were confused by like how to like address each other because they couldn't call each other Peter, they couldn't call each other Parker, they couldn't call each other Spider-Man. So it was just like, what the fuck do you call each other?
yeah. Now I think when they actually did do the reveal, and Ned was kind of, I kind of think in my personal opinion, I think he was kind of like fudging magic, and it was maybe the evil Doctor Strange. And I say evil Doctor Strange because only after with the post credits where it showed that evil Doctor Strange is in uh what is it, Mayhem of Madness?
Multiverse of Madness.
Multiverse of Madness, my bad. So it showed evil Doctor Strange. So I'm wondering, who was controlling those portals and everything like that. But when Tobey Maguire came out, me and you, spoiler alert, cried. you know, I got tears in my eyes immediately. But watching it with my kids, I didn't. I was like, oh, there they are. Um, and
I feel like what it comes down to is like we grew up with all of them together. And with your daughters, I mean, you've only had this trilogy. They've only known this Spider-Man. Like we grew up with Tobey Maguire, and um we grew up with Andrew Garfield. I mean, we didn't grow up with, we mostly like just enjoyed Andrew Garfield's Spider-Man.
well, it's the feeling that we had talked about the other day, where like dad's from the Bronx, and we feel like Stanley is our grandpa, and like Peter Parker is like one of our like pretty freaking close cousins. Like it just hits home for us because that's exactly what it is. It's home.
Yeah.
It's a sense of belonging. And for the people that actually watched the movie, and I mean, and I'm getting kind of choked up when I'm talking about this, but like watch the movie, and when they met up with Tom Holland and kind of like jumped down from the ledge, I told you that it was like a Batman-esque type feeling
Yeah,
of completion.
even the lightning was like Dark Knight Returns like cover. It was pretty just stunning looking at.
And seeing them in their costumes and everything like that, it was like the icing on the cake, and I didn't want any more than that at that point.
Honestly, I feel like I felt quite the opposite. Not that I didn't feel like it wasn't the icing on the cake. I felt like I wanted more of everything. Like, yeah, it was a long movie, but it wasn't like long enough for me. Like there were some parts where I wanted more fledged out than others. Like for example, Andrew Garfield's Spider-Man really comes off like he's coming from a dark place. Like he even calls himself pathetic at one point, and Tobey Maguire's like, no, you're not pathetic, you're amazing. Like obviously a reference to the Amazing Spider-Man series, but I want to know more, like why is he so dark besides obviously Gwen dying? Like what else has he gone through? Like I want to see his struggles, as much as that sounds fucked up. And Toby's Spider-Man, like he seems like he's gone full circle. It sounds like he even might have a kid with MJ. So it's cool that there's like different depths to each Spider-Man that we're still not even seeing.
Yeah,
And even towards
that's
the end, like yes, we're not going to see. I think we see Spider-Man in Doctor Strange. There's no way that we don't see Spider-Man in Doctor Strange because he kind of caused the whole thing.
yeah, he definitely comes back. Remember when they're fighting at the Statue of Liberty, when that's happening, they kind of bring him in. Ned kind of, quote unquote, brings him in again. And he kind of like says enough with this shit and like grabs a hold of, I think it was Electro. Yeah, he grabs a hold of Electro and like kind of like tries to whip his accelerator off of his chest at that point. And that's when the fight really starts to go. But I want to go back a little bit when you had actually said about the Andrew Garfield and the Tobey Maguire. There was definitely a sense of completion with Tobey Maguire. In a sense where he's kind of found his happy place, where Doctor Strange even says to Tom Holland Spider-Man, the problem is you can't be two people at the same time. And that is something that we saw with Tobey Maguire, is that he just couldn't be with MJ and he couldn't be Spider-Man at the same time. And now he tells them himself they found a way to make it work. And Andrew gets a sense of redemption, I guess you would say, when MJ falls and he catches her and he starts to cry. And like their chemistry right there is like Andrew starts like crying and MJ's kind of like, what the fuck is going on? But at the same time, she's so thankful that she's not dead. She's not questioning it.
But at the same time, I feel like she also got the sense of like what he was going through mentally. She's a very good read on characters, and I think it's hilarious how skeptical she was of Andrew, and then that redemption scene of him saving her life, because like it really just came full fucking circle. Like at first she's throwing, I think it was bread at him. That was the funniest thing. Like she's just throwing bread at him. He's on the ceiling and she's still throwing bread. It's just like, what is going on? Like, who is this girl?
Yeah, like
Come get your
Zendaya
girl.
starts throwing the bread at him,
Yeah.
and she's like, "What? You don't got the tingle? You don't got the tingle?" He's like, "I got the tingle."
he's,
you know,
he's like, I don't want to show the tingle. So
he's like, "I got the tingle. I just don't got the tingle for bread."
yeah. I don't know. I thought that was a funny scene, but it really just showed like the chemistry between everybody was just amazing. I will say, I have two gripes because I feel like our review is kind of dragging on here, and we're just going on a nostalgic trip.
Yeah, definitely.
Fucking so. I wanted to say that I have two gripes about this film. The first one being Charlie Cox, Daredevil. He is introduced, Matthew Murdock, giving legal advice to Tom Holland, and I felt like it just seemed like it was kind of just copied and pasted into the movie, and they were just like, where can we fit you in? And I don't know if you got the same vibe. I just felt like it wasn't as significant of an appearance as I thought it would be. And I know that on the grand scheme of things, what would Daredevil do against like the Sinister Six? Because most of his like Most of his villains are conveniently not using like superpowers. um,
Yeah, that is true.
I mean, his worst enemy, I think, one of the one of the worst jokes I've ever heard. But his worst enemy is like a concert, and I was like, oh my god, that's terrible. um, so like, I just thought that it was weird that he was included, and that was about it. And like, they showed that he had like that crazy agility, and he could catch that brick, but like, what were you doing in that scene besides just
Well, he was a good lawyer,
yeah,
you know.
but like, I don't know, it just, and he got him off on like some weird technicalities, and there wasn't like a showing of the lawyerness of Matthew Murdock. It was just kind of like, hey, I just got you like this great deal and you're gonna take it, but Happy's gonna take the fall anyways. Like, it just didn't make sense to me. Like, that part just seemed like I don't even know what the word is, but it just seemed too convenient.
It was a cop out.
Yeah,
It was
absolutely.
definitely a cop out.
So my second one, and this is a huge one.
It's gonna be mine too.
I feel like it's the Jamie Foxx thing, and I don't know if you feel the same way. I felt like Jamie Foxx was so just stereotypical and so corny that it was cringy at points. And I like Jamie Foxx as an actor. Django Unchained, he was amazing. And I honestly can't name another Jamie Foxx movie right now on the spot. But I just felt like his lines and his demeanor was just forced.
It was forced, and I want to talk about that real quick. So it was forced, but there was a sense of purpose to that, because when he mentions, I thought you were the Black Spider-Man, I think that there needs to be a Black Spider-Man. There must be a Black Spider-Man somewhere. That's set up for Miles.
Yeah, no, it
That
definitely
is
set up
definitely
for
a setup
Miles.
for Miles.
Do you think that he was acting the way that he was because he thought Spider-Man was black?
No, I think
Like, he was trying to
that
act like cooler and like, oh, he's one of me. And then when he found out that he was white, like, I'm not trying to get into that, but it seemed like he kind of cooled off from everything too.
that
I picked off
and
from that vibe. I don't know. That's
that and he was Max wasn't ugly in this
yeah.
universe.
He was the cool guy.
So I'm like, I was confused about that portion of it. I was like, why does he not look like a dork? And his suit was amazing. The way that they did a new fashion suit, and they did, a nod to his old one when they had the electricity mask. Whenever he kind of conducted that was cool as hell.
That was pretty cool.
Um,
I did want to say, like, a shout out to like the whole cast of all the older Spider-Mans for staying true to their characters. I wanted to give a quick shout out, and I think that we're gonna both do it. William Dafoe, like, you got suplexed, my dude, and you're still living. I don't know how the hell you survived a whole ass pandemic and still got suplexed and survived that too. But congratulations, because you're probably one of the toughest 60-year-olds.
60 years old.
Yeah. That shit, like, it just made me feel like somebody was beating up our father or some shit.
I was like, no, dude, stop.
Oh my god, and Tom Holland just wasn't having it. He was just punching him in the face.
I definitely thought that he was gonna get that PG-13 fuck in there. Like, I was really waiting for it, but
yeah, I was really hoping for him to be like, "You stupid fuck," and just pound him, or Tobey Maguire be like, "Fuck, stop, Peter."
So I did want to touch on, and no pun intended, but on the Charlie Cox portion. And I knew you were gonna laugh at that and be like, context. But and as you're saying that, Daredevil is actually flashing on my screen right now for Netflix. But they had to do that in order to make this story kind of comic like as well. And they did a lot of nods to the comic when Peter does come out of being, outed. And Matt Murdock really doesn't like Peter in the comics, and it doesn't show that dynamic, and they kind of like fight for a little while. I don't know if you remember that in the comics, but Spider-Man and Daredevil like kind of like beefed for a little bit.
I feel like it'd be too weird on screen right now to have them beef when
Yeah,
they're
definitely
completely different age groups.
Yeah, that was why it was like, okay, that's happening, but they're not going into that portion of it, as well as the whole Doctor Strange portion. My biggest beef is that we didn't see, and I'm being selfish with this right now, is that we didn't see like a glimpse of Spider Gwen, or we didn't see a glimpse of Miles Morales, or Spider Ham, or Spider Man 2099. And
Honestly,
I was like,
you might
come
be a
on,
little
like we
selfish on
could
that
have just,
because
huh?
you might be a little selfish on that. We had 3 Spider-Man and villains, and we didn't even cover this. The symbiote was literally left behind. Part of the symbiote.
That was a cop out from fucking Marvel
No,
and
listen,
a nod to
listen.
Sony, and they shook hands and said, fuck you
No, no, no,
both.
no. Listen to this.
Yes.
So, in the comics, the symbiote actually attaches itself to Peter Parker before it attaches to Eddie Brock. So, that being said, this is their way of doing that in the Marvel universe because there's already
But,
Venom in the Sony universe. I think that that's
all right.
genius.
So I watched a theory that it might be the bartender that brings Venom, that guy. But also, if they do Venom in that universe, I really, really, really hope that they do not give it to Flash Thompson. I hope they just make a new fucking story for it and they have a fresh start to the Spider-Man with Venom, because I cannot handle another scrawny Venom. I will flip the hell out. Like, I won't watch it.
No, what I think they should do is they should keep Tom Hardy and just have him cross multiverses. I think that would be the best bet. Um, that being said, I cannot do another Tobey Maguire type montage with a black suit Tom Holland. Please don't do that. We already got the black suit Tom Holland because the reverse little thing that they did with the laundry and the shoe polish. Please just don't do that sort of dance. I will cry. I will literally just stop watching Spider-Man.
Let's not.
Okay. So
Let's
on that
not do
note,
that.
we're gonna rate this on our Nerdometer because that's what we do, us nerds. What are you rating this?
I'm gonna rate it a 10 out of 10, and I'm gonna say it's probably the best movie of the year.
Honestly, this might be the best movie in the past 5 years.
It's
It's up there.
It's end game level, bro. Like
Yeah,
I really think it is.
it's worthy of all the praise that it's getting. I am so thankful that we got the chance to watch it together, not only as nerds but as brothers that grew up with this. And I cannot reiterate how amazing this was watching it. No pun intended. um,
I am glad though that we were pretty much alone in the movie theater, because we definitely did cry about 8 times together,
yeah, sorry to
because it
the
was
group of teenagers
such
that
an
sat in front of us. And I did want to commend you for not talking during the movie because I probably would have curb stomped you. Um,
yeah, we were definitely gonna throw hands.
anyways, that's it for our review. Obviously, hit that subscribe button and make sure that you turn on your notifications so you're notified when we post another review. And on that note, stay nerdy and peace.
Peace.